Things are getting crazy again in Minneapolis and Minnesota, and the Walt Disney Company somehow stuck in the middle of it. What in the world are we talking about? ABC News, Jimmy Kimmel, and even an MCU movie star, all putting Mickey Mouse and Bob Iger smack dab in the center of a national controversy that surely they don't want to be in. We'll tell you why things could go sideways for the House of Mouse real quick, right now. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the Pro Channel. We're going to go straight into this, diving deep, get there quick. We've got the expertise you need to know. Ron Coleman is with us. Christian Toto of Hollywood and Toto and Dreaming Tabitha plus Culture. It's a big crowd, folks, but we had to do it because this is the kind of conversation that needs to happen. Is Disney an enemy to civility? No, we're serious. We'll show you what we think about it. Click the like button, drop a comment. Quick, do it now. And we'll get started with analysis you'll find nowhere else. Now, folks, you know about the tragedy that has happened in Minnesota that right now, we don't know if it's going to turn into another summer of love, the winter of love from 2020 to now. But one thing I can tell you is the way it's being presented by the Walt Disney Company through their talents is not the way that it is in reality. I want to go right now to Tim Pool. We're going to do just a very brief rundown, folks. I highly recommend that you watch this video from Tim. Whatever you think of Tim, he's got the up-close video, and he shows that the vehicle where the ICE agent was standing in front of the vehicle, and the woman who is attempting, we believe, to obstruct ICE, she accelerates, the wheels are spinning out, and were it not for perhaps slippery road conditions, this could have been in reverse. The ICE agent may have been ended. So here's what Tim says about this very briefly to give us a summary of it, and then we're going to go into the news coverage, especially from Disney and the celebrities.
It's my fault. The de facto wife of the woman who was killed by ICE said, "It's my fault." Quote, "I made her come down here to confront agents," as she breaks down in harrowing footage. Now, I want to make sure this is very clear. She said, quote, "I made her come down here." Now, there are a lot of questions.
All right, good enough. That's what we need to know, okay? We need to know that this woman that we've been told that her husband, passed away, and therefore there's a child without parents. And listen, tragedy, right? We all know horrible tragedy. We don't want anybody to ever die. When I find out that somebody has passed away at 90, I am still sad about it because I want human life to prosper. Okay, but that's a very different story that we're finding out that this woman was with a woman who says it's her fault that she encouraged her to come down and confront ICE agents. That's what Tim is saying. Let's go to how this is being handled by Tim Walz, and then we're going to make this make sense for why we're covering it and what it has to do with Disney. But I need to set forth the gravity of what it is we're covering here, because this ICE agent who fired into this woman who hit the accelerator, this is being turned into a national situation that could spiral into something truly historic and maybe dark for the country. Here's the governor of Minnesota, who I bet would like to be out from underneath the shadow of the Leering centers. You think he might like to be out from beneath that? Here he is talking about this situation and challenging the federal government in ways that we haven't seen since maybe the 1950s.
And from here on, I have a very simple message. We do not need any further help from the federal government. To Donald Trump and Kristi Noem, you've done enough. There's nothing more important than Minnesotan safety. I've issued a warning order to prepare the Minnesota National Guard. We have soldiers in training and prepared to be deployed if necessary. I remind you, a warning order is a heads up for folks. And these National Guard troops are our National Guard troops. They're teachers in your community. They're business owners. They're construction professionals. They are Minnesotans. Minnesota will not allow our community to be used as a prop in a national political fight.
All right, so Governor Walz is essentially challenging the federal government that he will mobilize the National Guard of his state to defend itself, defend the state, defend the city from the federal government. Now, Tim Walz, of course, is the former candidate for vice president. So you can imagine this is a thing. I would also make note of the fact that the flag on the right is the recently changed state flag, which now resembles the Somalian flag. So some people are calling him all kinds of names that might be very appropriate, Traitor Tim, etc. Okay, so this is a big deal right now, folks. Now, before we get into the way that Disney and Hollywood is responding to this, and we're about to, I promise, we're going to get into Disney, because if there's one thing that I know about entertainment and celebrities, you don't want to touch this because you don't know how this is going to go. And it's the fog of war. And back off, right? Mm-hmm. Well, unless you're Disney and the talent that they've curated. But let me just do a mental practice with everybody right now. Everybody can do this. It doesn't matter if you're on the right or the left or the middle or wherever you might be. I think we can come to some agreement about this, okay? Set aside all of the expectations of tribalism and partisanship, and you have to agree with this, or you set it aside for a minute. Play out this scenario in your head. You have come into conflict with law enforcement. I don't care what kind of law enforcement it is. And law enforcement is now standing around your vehicle. If you were to put your vehicle into reverse, back up, then quickly put it into drive, and then move forward with law enforcement in front of you, what do you think the percentage is that just changed in terms of whether you're okay or not? Okay? Now, play it out again. Folks, you have a teenager. When you're telling the teenager how to respond to law enforcement should they be pulled over, would you tell the teenager that it is a wise and sound decision to put the vehicle into reverse when you've been stopped and surrounded by law enforcement? Would you tell them to put it in reverse and then quickly put it into drive? No, if you want the teenager to still be with you, I know they drive you crazy. I know the teenagers do that, but I doubt you would give the teenager that kind of advice. We're going to bring in Ron Coleman. We're going to need him for this discussion. Ron, welcome aboard, sir.
How you guys doing?
Having a great one. And even better now that you're here. Ron, we're talking about this situation in Minnesota, but in particular, we're talking about the way it's being covered by these entertainment companies, Disney right now. So we've laid this out, folks. This is what happened. This is the level of severity in the response from Governor Tim Walz, essentially challenging, and we may have the Insurrection Act invoked. Very well could. I don't know where it's going to go. At some point, Ron, I don't want to get political, but at some point, you have to stop playing nice. And we've almost reached the end of the Trump administration. I know some people think they don't play nice, but it's about to that point. Let's see how Disney's covering it. This is ABC News, okay? This is ABC News. This is Disney. This is Bob Iger's company. This is Dana Walden. Don't forget that Bob Iger, the CEO of Disney, his wife is the dean. Willow Bay is the dean of the journalism school of USC, okay? Bob Iger comes out of ABC News. This is how they're covering what we just showed you and described to you. And by the way, you can go to the video and watch. You can literally go watch the tires spin on the ice with an officer in front, which then results in the actions taken. Whether you agree with them, disagree with them, or find it a nuanced position. Here's how ABC decides to cover it.
As Attorney General, what will you do to ensure justice is served?
Every single thing I possibly can. Everything in my power. I believe that it is absolutely critical that transparency and accountability prevail in this situation. And there's no stone that I won't unturned to get to a just, fair outcome based on the truth.
Just based outcome. Here's Jimmy Kimmel. Again, Disney under Dana Walden. Here's Jimmy Kimmel, Disney's not so funny man.
I know what they're doing. They're trying out a new slogan. Donald J. Trump is going to kill you.
I just want to pause and tell YouTube, don't get me for this. I'm literally playing Disney.
It's pretty good, right? This maniac, he isn't just killing people overseas. An ICE agent today shot and killed an unarmed 37-year-old woman during an ICE operation in Minneapolis. Their arm was on the steering wheel, protecting us. And of course, our president weighed in with compassion. He wrote, "I've just viewed the clip of the event which took place in Minneapolis. It is a horrible thing to watch. The woman screaming was obviously a professional agitator."
Folks, pause here for a minute. The woman screaming is the quote-unquote wife of the woman who's obstructing the ICE agents. The woman who is allegedly the wife is videoing the woman in the vehicle moving towards the agents, okay, after being stopped because she, again, has been blocking traffic and all that. That's, I mean, the level of propaganda we are witnessing here. And here's Disney's Jimmy Kimmel. We'll keep playing it, but I just need you to understand what he's actually describing here is the supposed spouse. I don't know if it's official or unofficial, legal, whatever, but she wasn't fleeing the scene. She's being recorded by her so-called wife.
And the woman driving the car, this is the woman who was killed, was very disorderly, obstructing and resisting, who then violently, willfully, and viciously ran over the ICE officer who seems to have shot her in self-defense. Now, I saw this video. It didn't look like anybody got run over to me. It looked to me like a woman got scared and tried to drive away.
Sure.
Right.
Sure.
So we're going to play semantics on late night, Ron. If you're struck by a vehicle, some people call that run over. It doesn't necessarily mean that you went under the tires. Ron, the fact that Disney, and we're going to get to another Disney celebrity in just a minute, but Ron, the fact that Disney is allowing their talent to put the company into this at a time where you could see the Insurrection Act invoked later on if Tim Walz actually follows through, which let's put that at a less than 50% probability, right? But we don't know. Ron, why would Disney allow themselves to be put into this spot where now they've got to defend this kind of stuff?
Because it's more politically useful for them than it is legally risky.
All right. Walk us through that. What does that mean?
There's very little legal risk. No, even if the Insurrection Act were invoked, it would be a very big stretch to say that Disney suddenly has to not weigh in on what it thinks about. First of all, there's Disney and then there's ABC. Let's not get into the layers of corporate ownership and editorial control here. Let's just take that as a given. Even if you want to take the position that Disney is the editor and publisher of late night, there's no judge in America under any circumstances, Insurrection Act or not, that is going to say to any publisher of news and entertainment that they can't comment as viciously as they want to about, and as untruthfully as they want to, about violence and a killing of a protester, regardless of what you and I and Andrew Branco, who knows more about the law of self-defense than anyone in America, regardless of our take here, regardless of the fact that it looks justified, there's no legal risk. There's zero legal risk.
Well, here's my worry, Ron. You tell me what you think about this.
Risk.
My worry is that the Walt Disney Company is actually participating either voluntarily or at the coercion of their talent, organically or inorganically. The Walt Disney Company is participating in an attempt to regenerate what we saw in 2020.
Well, so I agree with you that is what's going on. I don't agree with you that Disney is part of it as such. They're letting their people do what they do, which is to pet and validate the feelings of the very slim elite that is their audience and that watches their content and that agrees with the protesters. But I don't think there's a Disney corporate policy that you could ever demonstrate. I think they're just letting.
See, I agree with you. I agree with you, Ron. I don't think there's a Disney policy or an edict from the top telling them to do this. What I think there is there's an absence of an edict to say don't.
No,
and that's
100%. You're 100% right. And I'm going to tell you what I said to Tony Kinnett yesterday. These guys have been angling for armed conflict since at least the first Trump inauguration. They have been baiting Donald Trump baiting him to bring on a heavy-duty reaction.
You know, let me say, I did not think the language of civil war would be coming from the left first, even though what you're saying, I think, is completely true. I think they wanted the other side to be the one to initiate it so they could have, you know, we're 2 days from the anniversary of the most important thing that's ever happened in the history of the world. Right. That would be the refurbishment of Big Thunder Mountain starting on January 6th. That ought to confuse the AI.
Again, though, in the you know, let us remember that the velvet ropes were protected. Thank goodness.
Coach, you're making actually very good. Oh, no, sorry, it was Jonas. You're making a very,
it was Jonas. This guy.
Make a very good point that actually complements my next observation, which was that the Trump administration from 2016, but even Trump 2.0, which has been much more assertive, has been very careful to marginally protect federal prerogatives. They've gone, you know, the things that the Biden administration was permitting, Trump 2.0 is prohibiting, but they're doing it really along the margin, precisely in order to avoid escalation. And on the other side, based on what you just said, Jonas, the agitators who are absolutely organized, absolutely centralized, and absolutely coordinating their efforts, they are also operating at the margin. They are pushing little by little to see what they can get away with and moving the Overton window so that supposedly mainstream scumbags like Jimmy Kimmel can look at these situations and easily decide right and wrong based on, you know, a level of resistance to law enforcement that would not have been, from your point of view, Pro, would have been unthinkable at the corporate entertainment level 20 years ago. Now it's completely cool.
Well, it just seems to be anti-capitalist, which they're anti-capitalist, so fair enough, eh?
Well,
but it doesn't seem like this is helping them. And so I want to go to Christian real quick, because Christian, what we're looking at on the screen right now, you know, this is amazing to me that we have, this is a guy, this is the least popular fellow. He's in a battle with Pedro to go as low as he can. But even Pedro Pascal knows better than this. Simu Liu is the least popular person in Avengers Doomsday. And it has nothing to do with race, because there's another Asian actor in Marvel, Ke Huy Quan, and everybody loves that man. But Simu Liu, different story. Simu Liu, who has, he's getting to ride upon this possibly $1 billion joyride that is Avengers Doomsday. And here's what he decides to say, and throw this out in the public sphere. Beyond appalled at the murderous actions of ICE agents in Minneapolis, don't be manipulated by rhetoric. There is a video, and it clearly shows the intentional deletion of an unarmed woman driving away. Immigration laws can be enforced in a dignified way. F ICE forever. Christian, when we look at the video, of course, and it doesn't matter so much right now for this conversation, but if we look at the video and we zoom in, we can see that the tires actually spin out on the ice, which would have meant that the agent was hearing the revving up of the engine that is now aimed at him after the woman backs up. But Simu Liu he's supposed to be a movie star for Disney. Christian, if you're Disney, wouldn't you say, hey, buddy, shut up?
No, his name isn't Gina Carano, so they'll stay quiet. You could say virtually anything, and Disney is fine with it. I've covered how, they've been in bed with Bette Midler for a while, and Bette Midler has said some really gross, awful, terrible things, and they have no problem with that. They'll have no problem with this. This won't even get a mention anywhere. If you're on the left, you can say anything you want, and you get away with it. You've got a get out of jail free card. I want to go back to Jimmy Kimmel. What Jimmy Kimmel said last night on his program was infinitely worse than blaming MAGA for Charlie Kirk's assassination.
Oh, okay. Walk us through that, Christian. Why do you believe that?
Well, because he's now inciting violence. He's telling us there's a video, and then he's saying he's watched the video, and then he's saying that he's seen the video, and the video proves that the ICE agent behaved in a murderous fashion. Now, we all have the same video, and we can all see it, and we all know what's going on. We're living at a time where there can be things on video, and the media and the left will tell you that you can't believe your eyes. We saw President Biden glitch out right next to Jimmy Kimmel at a fundraiser, and Jimmy Kimmel has told us that we were lying, that we didn't see what we saw. So what Jimmy Kimmel's trusting is that his fans are so sycophantic that they'll hear, well, Jimmy Kimmel saw the video, so he must be telling us the truth. What he did last night was just incredibly dangerous. The View is part of the ABC machine, the Disney machine as well. And what they do often is dangerous too. I mean, just completely spewing misinformation in a way to incite violence. And sadly, I've become numb to it. And I think a lot of people have as well. And I think we collectively know that it's the dumbest show on TV. But what Jimmy Kimmel did last night, in a moment where we don't have all the facts, but we certainly have a videotape, which is pretty damning, and to say what he did and to hold up a shirt saying that Donald Trump is going to kill you, yuck, yuck, wink, wink, is incredibly inflammatory, incredibly unprofessional. I don't know how he sleeps at night. I just don't. And again, it isn't just Jimmy Kimmel. It's all the people on his staff.
I mean, these people are
behind the scenes.
He sleeps like a baby. They could not be more comfortable. They consider themselves to be morally superior to everyone in this conversation and the majority of the people in the United States. They don't suffer the consequences of the policies that they want us to live by, but they consider us to be morally inferior merely for wanting to survive without violence against law enforcement, with illegal immigration, with unfettered illegal voting. He sleeps at night. It only helps him sleep at night.
And let's add this to it. Let's add this, Ron. So it's this language is the kind of thing that causes a woman who is out of state. My understanding is this woman is from Colorado.
Yeah.
This is the kind of language that causes a woman and I suppose her wife to be there videoing her obstructing ICE law enforcement from doing its job. And then when they are interacted with, when they are held, then to put the vehicle in reverse, have as consequence the vehicle aimed at an agent, and then to hit the accelerator. And then for us all to live in this world where she's been, taken out, none of that has to happen. But the building up of this rhetoric that allows people to believe this is something they should be doing, that they should be out there, not as legal observers, but as activists attempting to sabotage law enforcement. Only the kind of language we're seeing on TV and organizations that are ginning this up could create such a world. And that's where we are right now. Tabitha, let me get you in on this. Your thought on Disney talent, such as movie stars and late night hosts now. What does this do? Like, is the average person going to put this together now and say, you know what? I watched those clowns talk about down with democracy as a joke last election, and they're at it again. I was going to give them a chance, but I'm out. I'm done. I'm over it. I don't want to be associated with any of this anymore.
No, because it's one of those clowns that went out and got himself shot.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the simple long and short of it. I have to congratulate her on her Darwin Award, and it's always a tragedy, of course, when situations find themselves this way, because it's not just one person that gets affected. It's, in a way, it's millions more. It's not just the family, it's the country. It divides us, it separates us, but it's like, whatever happened, that's the thing. Whatever happens in media when it comes to the entertainment is what shapes the world. It's for beauty standards. It's for athleticism. It's for health. We have a habit of letting entertainers who are contractually obligated to perform and not even allowed to have really a lot of times their own opinions. As I'm so glad you brought that up with Gina Carano. It's like, shout out to her for voicing her thoughts and opinions about something. It was neutral. It wasn't even pick a side, but shout out to her for voicing her thoughts and opinions on something so that it could pave the way for all these other ungrateful, arrogant other Disney stars to be able to actually pick a side and spew whatever hatred that they want to, so that it can influence the masses. That is just the long and short of it. It doesn't matter what side of the schism you might be on. If you're in entertainment, you are very influential, and it's just really sad that there is no consequences for actions. You know, we as we can clearly see. So Jimmy Kimmel gets booted off of television for something that he said a while ago. Meanwhile, he's back in a job. Doesn't matter what the ratings are. He still has a job. He's still held in prominence. He's still getting people to listen and watch what he has to say. And if anything, he might change a little bit of what he does just so that he can kind of bring viewership back on Earth. But it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter because it's all topsy-turvy. It's upside down. Until there's accountability and consequences for your actions, it's never going to stop. And it's just sad that people are dumb.
Would it make any difference to you if you found out that there was fentanyl on the gas tank?
For me?
Hey, culture has been absolutely holding back. This is the kind of topic that culture. I can't let you sit anymore. It is time. It is time to unleash the man. And as we do, culture, if you could take this particular angle for me, please. How will Disney and their ABC News division and The View and Late Night, Jimmy Kimmel, how are they going to respond if Tim Walz, who is militarizing and bringing up in arms a defense against the federal government, how are they going to respond if President Trump does in fact have to invoke the Insurrection Act? Culture, we would love to hear your amazing thoughts. Unmutify, sir.
I think we need to look at Disney's commercial responsibilities. I think that's something that we've been not talking about here. We saw what Kimmel did to them before with the likes of let's say Sinclair as the primary boxer in the wings. They've got problems no matter which direction they approach this from. The very loud population of protesters and silly people that work for them, whether they be The View or Jimmy Kimmel and his wife or anybody else, they're at odds with their own talent, which is the only reason why they even allow Jimmy to still be on the air, because the agencies use their leverage that we won't let any of these people work for you, Disney, if you enforce some kind of punishment for Jimmy Kimmel. If you take
even
him
Disney culture, not everybody knows this, even Disney, and as far out there in the wackadoodle left that they might be, even Disney tried to fire Jimmy Kimmel, and they couldn't because Hollywood fought him on it and said, no, we want it back.
Yeah, and here's the thing. I mean, Sinclair Media's CEO, got fully engaged in this conversation in a Hollywood Reporter article and in other places as well. But it wasn't just them. It was all these affiliate owners that control a significant number of these particular stations. They are accountable to larger entities and regulation that I think a lot of people just plain forget about. Whether or not it's a regional sports network, which Sinclair actually purchased from Fox way back when, or any of these other interests that Disney naturally feeds into. I think Disney sets themselves into I've said this before this morning to someone else on this panel. They're placed between Scylla and Corinne. They're between a rock and a hard place, and there's no escape for them except to take what's going to be the least damaging situation. But they've been called into a political battle that Iger is totally loving, because of just how aligned he is with one particular party, that I don't think a lot of people, or very few people, I guess now, because there's not a lot of conservatives left that work with Disney or for Disney.
No, the last time we looked, it was like 92% of their employees.
Right. Yeah.
Donated.
It needs to be that way, but that's a different conversation. I think that the commercial aspect is the thing we need to focus on. For how much longer will the American populace support corporations who are now terrified of effective boycotts that have happened for silly things like a beer brand that completely destroyed themselves that will never return to the levels they were before? And whether or not I'm referring to Bud Light, I probably weren't watching any of our channels. But beyond any of that, these commercial efforts can literally destroy these advertisers that I'm telling you right now, Sinclair Media is going to be like, okay, well, we have to air this because you guys have supported ABC, but it's going to directly lead to boycott fest that I don't think any of these corporations are going to want to be involved in.
As long as Disney is involved and not, Ron's exactly right. There's no top down, you must do this. There's an absence of you must not do this. And as long as Disney does not, have a certain set of standards that prevent them from going off the rails with this talent, I got to say, I think Disney is an enemy to civility.
Well, they've proven it because they have not reined in Jimmy Kimmel, as Ron outlined before, and they should have. I think drawing the line in the sand for your talent is incredibly important because you're going to allow them to Keith Olbermann your entire operation. And I would say that they allowed Keith Olbermann to continue on for far too long at msnbc, which led to the birth of Rachel Mad Cow and all of her disease spreading across the entire news media platforms. So this is and I say things in a humorous way for reasons for impact, but I'll just say this, that we're where we are now because nobody drew a line in the sand. And if Disney, one of the 3 major networks that exist in this world, isn't willing to draw a line in the sand for its talent, will CBS, will NBC, and if they do, will that change what actually happens? Because I promise you, it's going to be like news coverage that I witnessed in one of the worst movies of last year or the previous year, Civil War, which I thought was the biggest piece of garbage, but representative of what an extremist would think that would happen during that kind of an exchange. And,
and that may be where we're heading, culture. I want to give Ron the opportunity to have the last word on this. Yeah. Ron, I don't know if you've seen on X, I talk about this on my Patreon this morning, this new story that's out with Mike Flynn talking about Venezuela. I'm not going to go too deep into that at all, but I just want to say, Ron, that there are a couple of stories that are so big right now, including what's going on in Minnesota, that I worry that our news media is not only incapable of handling it, but they're actually part of destroying the country. And I would like to come on the other side of whatever happens with Disney not being a company that was associated with the destruction of civility and, mobs and outrage and protests across the street and back to all that again. Ron, as you've listened to what everybody's had to say about this, what are your thoughts about where this is going to go over the next few days?
Well, because culture really nailed it, that's really, I think, the answer to your question. These outlets, the content of this channel have been you guys have been talking about for years now how Disney has been alienating itself from mainstream America. Part of that process is ABC and the other corporate or regime news networks have become increasingly irrelevant to how news is consumed in this country, and especially by younger people. And by younger people, I mean me. I mean, people who still watch the Wall Street, still watch the networks for their news, like my mother in her house, in a retirement village in South Florida, really don't matter so much. They're becoming more and more irrelevant. The reason Disney can afford to subsidize ridiculous, not nonprofit making operations like Jimmy Kimmel is because they're so amalgamated, and no one knows better than you, Pro, if the parks are where they're making all their money, and even then, that ship is starting to leak as well. The economics of it are going to fail them in the long run. In the long run, I don't know if we're going to make it to the long run, but this is who they are. This is what they do. Someone in the chat just made a point that I've been making here forever, which is this is Disney's culture. Of all the companies, of all the entertainment companies that we talk about, it is a true bottom-up culture. It's from the performers in the parks, which were co-opted by gay rights movement a long time ago.
And then the pandemic. They unleashed Walt Disney World. They let go almost all their conservative employees in the pandemic and replaced them. Totally different company now.
So that's where it's going. Where it's going is that they're going to continue speaking to their friends, the people that they encounter in their elite world, but the world is moving away from them, and that's why they hate Elon Musk so much. That's why they hate Donald Trump so much. They come from outside, and they control alternative means, and that's why the European Union is out to get X and Elon Musk, because they're part of the same informal, barely cabal of people who are trying to control our lives.
It's amazing to me, to go to Elon, it's amazing to me that all of the bad guys in the world, all put together, cannot somehow unsmart that man. It is such fun getting to spend time together, folks, but we have come to the end of yet another video, well, that makes the mainstream scratch their heads, pull their hair out, and wonder, how is it we continue to do what we do? But you know what we do this for? It's for you. To keep bringing all the knowledge of entertainment, explaining what's going on in Hollyweird each and every day. And you can help us continue on that way by clicking the like button. Share, subscribe, click it, stick it to those algorithms. It's the notification bell. Share this out on your favorite social media platforms, and we would love to have you drop a comment right on down below. Share your thoughts because, well, your thoughts truly do matter, and we mean it. As we get ready to say goodbye, we end with the common refrain. Folks, wherever you are and whatever you're doing, keep learning, keep growing, and keep having fun.